Hi, it's Miss House. We're going to talk about lesson 13 today, and this lesson is on slope and equations of lines. Now, we've been graphing a few lines by finding their intercepts, but one of the things we need to talk about also about lines is their slope. And slope really describes the slant, or if you will, the steepness of a line. And you've experienced slope many times in your life. For example, if you were walking, so let me draw you walking. Sorry, I drew you like that, but there you are, you're walking. And you're about to walk on this ground right here. Well, that's really flat and easy to walk on. Not very steep at all. But if you're walking and you're about to go up this hill, that's very steep. And so that's what we're talking about, how slanted or how steep a line is. Now, there are 4 kinds of slope, okay? And these aren't specific number values. These are just descriptions, okay? So these are descriptions of slope. And so we would say, let me draw it in a coordinate plane, and you know it's got an X and a Y axis, okay? And so the first line I'm going to draw here is going uphill like this, okay? And we describe that as a positive slope. So anytime a line rises, as we read left to right, we consider that a positive slope. Okay, so it's like you're going uphill. And we always read left to right. Now, another kind, I bet you can guess if you're going downhill, that we're going to call that slope a negative slope. And it doesn't have to be that steep. It could be like this, okay? But anything that is going down from left to right is a negative. And we say that the line falls from left to right. Okay, we always read our lines from left to right. Now, there are 2 other situations as well. Okay, you might not think about these, but I almost showed you one when I showed you walking there. And that is, there are some lines that don't rise at all. Okay, pretend like that's exactly flat. That would be called a horizontal line. And it is going to be always a 0 slope, literally the number 0. 0 slope, okay? And I'll talk to you why it's 0 in just a few minutes. But just know that if you're on a flat horizontal line, it's easy walking, and it's also a 0 slope. And then there's one other, and this is kind of the weird one. Imagine you were trying to walk up this hill that went straight up and down. That's a vertical line, and we describe vertical line as undefined, okay, or no slope. Now, no slope is not to be confused with 0 slope. What we're saying is there's that line, it's straight up and down, and it has no slant to the left or to the right, so it's considered a no slope. Now, in words, what we say is that slope, okay, is the ratio. Oh, and I guess I should tell you, we use the letter M to stand for slope. It's a lowercase m. So when you see that in this context, of course, sometimes you might see an m and an equation, but when you see it in this context, in an equation, you'll know that m is for slope. Now, we define our slope with words as the ratio, that's just a fraction, of the rise of a line to the run of the line, okay? And that's how fast it goes up or down in a ratio of how fast it goes right or left. Okay, so just like you would expect, our positive words here are up and right, and our negative words here are down and left. Okay, so it's important to remember that. So for positive, it's going to be up and to the right, and for negative, it's going to be down and left. And you kind of experienced that when you were doing your graphing of lines. You knew to go left when it was negative. You knew to go down when it was negative, or you went up when it was positive, or to the right when it was positive. All right, so let's do a few problems and see what we get here. So this is a long assignment, but what you're going to see is that many of these questions will take seconds. Just a few seconds to answer, okay? So in number 1, it says, state whether the slope of the line is positive, negative, 0, or undefined. So you look at the line. Imagine you're walking. If from left to right, you would be going up the hill. So that would be a positive slope, right? Up the hill from left to right is a positive slope. Here we have that situation that we consider a vertical line as an undefined slope. And once we start to do the numbers, you'll see why it's numerically also undefined. Number 3, here this line is completely flat or horizontal. It has a 0 slope. So we're recognizing that going uphill is positive, straight up and down or vertical is undefined, and flat or horizontal line has a slope of 0. Now here we have one that is going from left to right is negative because it's falling. And this question was generated from MyMathLab, and it happens to have the same answer. It is negative, okay? So as you go through these problems, ask for similar problem because it'll change it, and then you can just make sure you got up the hill's positive, down the hill's negative, vertical line undefined, horizontal line is 0. So here's another horizontal line. Its slope is 0. So see how fast these questions will go for you. Here we have uphill from left to right. That's a positive. Here we have downhill from left to right. That is a positive. Okay. Now we're going to talk more about rise over run. So remember we said M, our slope, is the rise over the run. And so to do this, you pick 2 points, and MyMathLab always defines the 2 points for you. They give you the little dots on the graph. And what we're going to do is we're going to count our rise as we go up, and we're going to count our run, and we're going to make a fraction. So look, first of all, let's make a note. This is a positive slope. Okay, so we know we're going to put a positive answer. And then we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I went up 6, and now I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 to the right 3. So this slope is a ratio of 6 to 3. And you know, you can divide 6 divided by 3 is 2. So we would say the slope of this line is 2, or look, 2 over 1. Watch what happens if I start at that point and go up 2 over 1, up, and then I go up 2 over 1, and up 2. See how those ratios are the same, and they describe the same amount of slant of your line. Here we don't have to do any counting, but let's try it anyway. Okay, remember we're counting rise over run. And we know this is undefined, okay, so we'll go ahead and mark that. But let's talk about why numerically it's undefined. Well, if we pick this point here and we count our rise is 2, and our run is, we don't move left or right, it's 0. And division by 0 is always undefined, okay? There is no answer for dividing by 0. Take your calculator, pick any number, divide it by 0. Do 2 divided by 0. It's going to tell you, depending on the calculator you have, it might say error. It might say undefined. It might say domain error. It could say a lot of things, but it's telling you there's no answer for that it's considered undefined. All right, for this one, we know it's a negative. So here I have this line that is going down the hill, and I need to count how much it goes down and how much it goes over. So I'm going to count down. Let's make it bigger so you can see it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and over 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's down 5 and to the right 4. Remember, down is negative, so therefore it is negative 5 fourths. Okay. Number 12, take a look. We know it's going to be positive because it's going uphill from left to right. So I start with my first point and I count my rise. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So positive 7. And then my run, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So remember, rise is up or down, run is left or right. I went to the right to get to that point, so therefore it is a positive. So this slope is 7/5. Find the slope of the lines shown on the graph to the right. Okay, same thing. We know it's positive. We're going to start with this point. We're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4 up. So that's 4 positive, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 positive. So our slope is our rise of 4, our run of 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. Okay, so go ahead and simplify if you can. That means I could go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, and still be on the line. Now this one, again, we know is undefined because when we do this, we get a 0 denominator because there's no movement for the run. That's the left to right, okay? We do go up. We go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but it's 6 over 0. So 6 over 0 is undefined. Slope of this line. All right, so I'm going to start. I know it's positive. Make a note. Count going up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Run 1, 2. Our slope is 5 over 2. And here we have a horizontal line for the first time. Now we know the slope is 0 because we already said the slope of every horizontal. But look what happens. If I start at this point and I look for rise, there's no rise. So starts with a 0. Now it runs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But if you do 0 divided by 7 on your calculator, that actually has a value. That's the value of 0. Same thing here. We're going to count to figure out our slope. Now look, it's negative because it's going down the hill, right? We said down the hill left to right is negative. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. So down 4 to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4. So down 4 to the right 4 is, my slope is -1. Remember to do rise, that's up or down first. And then put that over the run, and that's left and right, okay? Now we have not a graph, but we're given the 2 points. So let's take a look at a picture and see if this will help you to learn this formula. Okay, so I'm going to draw a graph, and I'm just going to put a couple of simple points here. Okay, and then I'm going to put one more point right here. Now, clearly, let me draw my line through there, sorry. Okay, if I have a graph, remember there's a point there and a point there, point there. Okay. If I have a graph, I can count rise over run. So if we're going to count it, we know it's positive, and I'm going to go up 2 to the right 1. That's true. Okay. So the rise is 2, the run is 1. So my slope is 2 over 1, which is going to reduce to just 2. However, we may be given the ordered pairs instead of the graph. So remember how we did the ordered pairs in the last lesson? 1, 2, right? So it's to the right 1, up 2. So this one is at 1, 2, and this is 2, 4. So this one is at 2, 4. Now remember, y is your up-down axis, and x is your left-right axis. So what we're going to do instead of counting, because pretend we don't have the picture, we just have these 2 points, 1, 2, and 2, 4. Now, of course, we could draw the graph, but there is a formula for this that keeps us from having to draw a graph every time. We'll call this the first x, x sub 1, and this y sub 1. The little 1 just means the first x and the first y. This is going to be our second x, x sub 2, and our second y, y sub 2. So the formula says you take the second y minus the first y. Now that's going to get you your rise. Let's peek back up here. Look. We said it was 2, 1, 2. Well, look, 4 minus 2. That's how we get the rise. And we divide that by x2 minus x1. And so that's going to get us 2 minus 1. So for our formula here, we would go 4 subtract 2 over 2 subtract 1. And that's going to give us 2 over 1, which is 2, which we already found as we did the graph. So this is a very important formula going forward that you're going to need, and this is called the slope formula given 2 points. Slope formula given 2 points. As I said, you can always sketch the graph. It's good practice anyway, and count rise and run, and that will give you the slope. But you could have points that are at fractions or decimals or way out like 100 and 300. You're not going to draw a graph for that. So the best thing to do is to learn this slope formula. It's an important formula in algebra. Okay, it's a famous formula actually. And I don't know why they call it M. There's some speculation that it had to do with mountains, but I doubt it because this was not studied by people who spoke English at first. This was more studied by folks in Germany and some other places. So, I don't think mountain starts with M in their languages. So there's not really a definite reason why they call it M, but we do remember that when we're working with lines, M is always going to be our slope. All right, so let's do a few of these. Now remember, you're always going to write the formula is slope equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Okay? And in order to memorize that, if you'll write it down each and every time you do a slope formula, you'll learn to memorize it over time. So I'm going to go over and I'm going to label x number 1, y number 1, x number 2, y number 2. And I'm going to do my slope formula is 10 minus 2 over, now here's where I got to be careful. I've got these negatives. I've got negative 5 subtract, and I'm going to put it in parentheses so my negatives don't run into each other too much. Negative 3. Now, if you don't use the parentheses, write it like this. 10 subtract 2, negative 5 subtract negative 3. That's kind of an old school way to do it. Make sure your negative is higher than your subtraction so you can tell the difference. Now, 10 minus 2, no problem, that's 8. Here, negative 5 subtract negative 3 from our negative numbers, we know that a double negative makes a positive. And of course, you can type that in your calculator as well. But let's practice it without. -5 plus 3. Well, I've got more negatives than positives, and I'm supposed to subtract when they have opposite signs. So that's going to be a -2. Think of it on a number line. Start at 0. Go 5 to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm here. Go back 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm at -2. So this is 8 divided by -2. That's going to reduce to -4. Now, if you sketch those points, these 2 points that we were given right here, if you sketch those, you're going to see a line that's going downhill because this line has a negative slope. It's pretty steep too, -4. Let's sketch it up here, and so you'll see. If I sketch -3, 2 is here, -5, 10, -5. Oh, I can't get to 10. But look, 10's up here. So here's -4, here's -5, 10. So look, -5 is here, so it's here. So look how steep that, it's not straight up and down because one's at 4 and one's at 5, but it sure is close. Okay, that's a pretty steep line there because those X's are so close to each other. So I recommend get some graph paper, or you can print some off the internet. Just put printable graph paper, and you can print you a few pages when you do these lines. Okay, let's do this one. We've got number 19. Find the slope of the line through -5, -4, and -5, -9. Okay, so my slope formula is, I write it down every time, y sub 2 minus y sub 1, x sub 2 minus x sub 1 is going to be -9 minus -4. Look how I just put that a little bit higher there. And -5 subtract -5. I've got some double negatives here. I've got a double negative in the numerator. Negative and negative make a positive. In the denominator, negative and negative make a positive. So I have -9 plus 4 divided by -5 plus 5. That's -5 divided by, it's divided by 0. So look, that slope is undefined. Now, a quick sketch of this one. Look, I'm going over to -5, and I'm going down to -4, and I'm going over -5. Look, my x's line up. That's a straight up and down line. That's a vertical line. All vertical lines have an undefined slope. All right, let's do a few more of these. Slope is y number 2 minus y number 1 over x number 2 minus x number 1. So my slope is, and I always like to label these, x1, y1, x2, y2. So I start with y number 2, which is a -3. Whoops, ended up being really fat. Hold on. So it ended up being -3, subtract 2, so no double negative there, and then -1, subtract -8. So I do have a double negative there. My numerator, those have the same signs. I add and keep my sign, or I use my calculator, -5, okay? And this is -1 plus 8, so -5/7. My slope is -5/7. Number 21, x1, y1, x2, y2. So my slope, using my slope formula, again, I'm writing it every time because that helps me remember it, and it will help you too. So my slope is 8 subtract 8, -6 subtract 4, 0 divided by -10. Well, that's 0. This is a horizontal line if we draw those, okay? The slope is 0. It's an actual number. The only one that has no number is the vertical line, which is undefined. So I gave you several of these because I really want you to practice the formula, and I want you to practice writing it down. Slope is y2, subtract y1, x2 subtract x1. So my slope is 8 subtract negative 6, okay? Negative 4 subtract negative 6, okay? I didn't label x1, y1, x2, y2. So I started with the 8, and then subtract is in the formula, negative 6. Then I went back to the negative 4, subtract the negative 6. And so these double negatives, a subtract and a negative, that's like two, that's double negative. So those are going to be pluses. 8 added to 6 is 14. Negative 4 plus 6 is 2. My slope is 7. This line has a positive slope. If you graph those points, you'll see the line going uphill from left to right. Number 23. Slope is y sub 2 minus y sub 1, x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So our slope, x1, y1, x2, y2, is negative 7, subtract a negative 2, over 1, subtract 1. Now look, I'm going to go ahead and just look at this. I'm not even going to do the numerator because look, my denominator is 0. This slope is undefined. Okay? So here we have a number 24. x1, y1, x2, y2. Slope is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So slope is 1 minus 2 over negative 1 minus negative 5. That's negative 1. And look, we got a double negative here. That makes a plus. So that's negative 1 plus 5, which is 4. My slope is negative 1/4. All right, so one more of these, and then we're going to take a break, and you can watch the next video where we're going to find slope a different way. So my slope is 9 minus 9. Oh, look, I already got a 0 in the numerator. Let's check the denominator, though. 0 minus 2. Okay, it's not 0. My numerator is 0. That's going to be a horizontal line. The slope is 0. Now, remember, slope equals 0, horizontal line. Okay, slope equal undefined is a vertical line. And if you have trouble remembering those, think about walking, okay? If you're walking like this, that's going to be 0. If you're walking like imagine walking up the side of a building. That's really weird. So the weird one, the undefined one, is the vertical line. The horizontal line has a 0 slope, okay? It's the horizon, right? That's why they call it horizontal line, because you look out on the horizon and it's a flat line like that. Okay, so take a break and come back and watch the next video, and we'll talk about another way to find slope.